Well, joining us now for a further breakdown of those second quarter GDP numbers is Anthony Chan. He's the former chief economist at JPMorgan Chase. Welcome back to the show.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me.
So let's start with your reaction to China's positive growth and what you saw as the best performing sectors.
Well, I was very impressed with the factory sector. Manufacturing is doing very, very well. As you could see, the GDP numbers not only came in strong, but they came in a lot stronger than the market was expecting. The market thought that you would get about a 2.4% real GDP on a year-over-year basis, and of course the number coming in at 3.2%. We see that infrastructure expenditures, real estate, and certainly auto sales, all those things are coming in very strong. We do know that one of the things that impressed me the most is that everyone knows that in China the service sector is recovering slowly, but you saw a little bit more of an acceleration in restaurant activity and things like that when you look at all the numbers that are coming out. So all this really speaks to the resiliency of the Chinese economy because when I look around the world, the United States this year is probably going to contract somewhere around 5% this year. For 2020, and of course Europe is probably going to contract by 6% or more. Meanwhile, I think that China certainly is probably going to expand for 2020, probably growing somewhere around 2.25% to 2.5%. So those numbers, although they are softer compared to history, are very impressive when you compare them to other parts of the world.
Let's also look at some of the headwinds. What do you see as the biggest concerns for Chinese growth going forward?
Well, certainly one of the biggest headwinds is the trade tensions that is occurring with the United States, so the two largest economies in the world. When you have trade tensions or you have any kind of tension, that certainly serves as a negative headwind. The second wave that some people are worried about with infections can slow down global economic activity, which could put a dampening effect on Chinese exports, which, by the way, have been pretty impressive and also coming in much stronger than the market was expecting. The good news, however, is that we're seeing very good news on the vaccine front. And so to the extent that we use these antivirals or vaccines come a little bit earlier, my suspicion is that the odds of the second wave or a deeper second wave are going to be ameliorated. My hope and expectation is that the rest of the world will learn from the aggressive actions that China took, particularly in the first quarter, and apply those right now when there is at least the danger of a second wave to ensure that it does not happen.
Now, as you know, China was first in when it came to this pandemic and seems to be the first out. So how reflective is China's rebound of what we can expect from other large economies and trade partners?
I think that it certainly gives you a blueprint of what could happen. But if you look around the world, especially in the United States, you're seeing that as the reopening took place, perhaps it was not done as efficiently as it was in China because China's economic growth continued to move higher, and now we're starting to see at least a question mark. The good news in the United States is that somehow the vaccine takes place or we become more aggressive at containing it with wearing masks and things like that. We may still be able to save it, but it's probably too early to get positive economic growth for the year in the United States as the Chinese economy is going to experience. So I think that the Chinese economy certainly should serve as a model for other parts of the world, but I don't think that that memo was actually received yet in the United States or even in Europe, where they will have negative growth for 2020.
Now, as we've seen, no official growth target was set. So what are analysts predicting and what metrics can they really look at to determine the overall health of the Chinese economy?
I think that certainly analysts are looking at mobility data in China. They're certainly looking at the retail sales numbers. Of course, the retail sales numbers were not as strong as you would like them to be for the month of June, but on a sequential basis, they continue to improve. And to the extent that the number of infections continue to remain at low or non-existent levels, I would expect that retail sales will continue to recover. We are also impressed with the housing activity that continues to show strong signs of life in China. We do see that in the United States also. So all these are various factors that analysts are looking for to see whether or not growth is sustainable. And of course, more stimulus. We know that the infrastructure is likely to continue into the second half. The People's Bank of China is also expected to keep interest rates down, which will continue to support economic activity in China. The thing that we want to see is that the service sector continuing to make even further progress. Big differences between the United States and China is that we didn't see a lot of the income support in China that we did in the United States. But even with that, China's doing pretty good.
Anthony Chan, always good to have you, former chief economist at JPMorgan Chase.